So recently, as we all know, the cost of building a new computer has absolutely skyrocketed. RAM is more expensive, SSD storage is more expensive, and basically anything that uses any form of memory chip has just gone through the roof. But I today have the solution, which involves an old computer you probably already have and have put in a cupboard because it no longer works, but might still be totally usable in 2026. Now what we're going to be playing with today is a 2013 27-inch iMac. Now this has a quad-core i5, 16GB of RAM, a 1TB SSD and a 1GB graphics card of some description. Now I've been trying to keep this machine going for a while for my father using something called OpenCore Legacy Patcher. Now for those who don't know what that is, it's a tool that allows you to get newer versions of Mac OS to run on a machine which it's not compatible with. So he's now replaced this with an M4 Mac Mini and he's given this to me to do with what I want. And I think I'm going to try out Zorin OS. Now what is Zorin OS? Zorin OS is a Linux distribution which aims to make it really easy for those who are used to Mac OS, Windows and just general computing from the Microsoft side of things and the Apple side of things. And that is because the team behind it have made the layouts of settings, file folders, start bar, task manager, all that kind of thing in a way that people who use Windows and Mac OS are already used to using. Now I've mentioned before many times that I run a computer repair business, and right now due to the Windows 11 switchover and old Mac machines no longer being supported, I am having to scrap and get rid of or sell on for very cheap old machines, and there's a couple of issues here. One, that's not very environmentally friendly to be throwing away and scrapping machines that are still good and still have life left in them and still have more than enough performance to do the majority of tasks that people actually need these days. And also the cost of new machines is prohibitive for some people. A lot of people don't have the budget to go out and spend £500, £600, £700, £800 plus to get a basic computer now. But the people behind Zorin OS say this will take a machine that's up to 15 years old and make it usable once again. So I want to put that to the test to see if I can recommend to you, the audience, and my customers, maybe swapping to Linux. So what do we need to make this work? Well, we need to go to the Zorin OS website, we need to download the ISO, and we need at least a 4GB flash drive to actually run the installer onto. Now the good thing about the Zorin OS website is they do have a nice guide showing you how to download the ISO, how to flash it to your USB drive, and how to actually get it to boot on your computer. And the good thing about it is you can either install it straight away, or you can just try it on your computer without having to actually modify anything on your hard drive, or depending how you want to do it, you can just install it alongside your existing Windows and probably Mac OS installation as well. Now there are 3 releases of Zorin OS you can download. There is a free version, a paid professional version, and an education version, which is marketed towards schools and universities and colleges and things like that. Now today we're going to be using the standard version, but it is worth noting that the Pro version comes with some pre-installed and pre-configured applications to replace kind of pro stuff, I assume, like photo editing, video editing, and maybe some other things you might need to use in a professional environment. But as far as I'm aware, you can get those and install them yourself manually if you want to do a little bit of work. So in my hands here, I have 2 things. I have a 4GB flash drive with the Zorin OS ISO flashed to it, and I have a little USB Wi-Fi adapter. Now, depending on your machine, you may or may not need this little USB Wi-Fi adapter. The reason I'm using it on this iMac, and probably a lot of other older Apple devices, is because they have a Broadcom chipset Wi-Fi. And what that basically means is there's no open source drivers available in Linux straight off the bat to be able to use the Wi-Fi. And if your computer doesn't have an Ethernet port, you may need one of these to be able to get online and download the updates required and download those proprietary drivers to be able to use your Mac's internal Wi-Fi. So let's get to it. Let me show you how to install Zorin OS on this old iMac. So the first thing we need to do once we've started up the computer is immediately press and hold the Alt button so you can bring up the disk select screen. Then you'll be able to select the USB installer, and from there you'll be able to select try or install Zorin OS, and it should boot up into the system. What it's doing right now is actually checking the disk to make sure it's okay, but you can skip that if you need to. And then it should bring you straight to the try or install page. Now I'm going straight to install myself. Right now I'm just setting up my keyboard, I'm selecting what I need to for my language. And then what I'm doing now is I'm selecting to download updates and install third-party software. And one of the reasons I'm doing that is so it'll make sure it has all the Wi-Fi hardware and everything ready to go for when I actually get into the main system. I'm also selecting don't participate in any censuses. That's up to you whether you want to do that or not, but I don't really like my machines sending data back to servers or anything like that if I can avoid it. And here I'm telling the computer that I want to erase the entire disk and install Zorin OS. I don't need to keep Mac OS on there, I don't need to keep anything else, and it's telling me what change it's going to make, and I'm hitting continue because it can have the whole disk. And then basically it's just going through the normal kind of Linux setups, setting a location, putting in a username, putting in a password, and I like to set it to log in automatically, but whether you do that or not is totally up to you. And then we just wait for the operating system to install, and after it's done that, it'll reboot and take you to the setup screen for once you've actually got into the desktop environment. And once you've booted up to the desktop, it'll give you the ability to choose what kind of desktop environment you want visually. Now there are different types depending on if you want a Windows style interface from newer to older ones. This is kind of like a Windows 11-y one I think that they're showing now, but I prefer the more Mac OS style interface myself, and that's what I'm going to be using considering we are on a Mac computer. Now one of the first things I'm going to do is go to the inbuilt software store so I can download OBS so I can actually record my screen. Now it's really simple, you pretty much just go to the search bar itself, you type in OBS, and then you press install, and it's there. OBS Studio just loads up and it just works. Now at this point I installed Google Chrome. You can use the browser which comes with the system, which is Brave, and it seems pretty decent, but for me I have a lot of Google services that I use, so it's really handy that it's there straight in the software install. You don't have to mess around downloading any packages from anywhere else, it's just there, you install it and it works as expected. Now at this point I wanted to test some video playback, and as you can see I'm playing some footage back from a video I recorded and hosted on the JM and Friends channel. Yes, for those of you who don't know, I do car stuff on another channel with my good buddy James from JM on Cars and Ant from Sports and Touring. So what I'm doing here is just kind of looking and seeing how the video plays back. We can see that there are a couple of dropped frames here at 4K, but that only happens when I'm recording the actual screen on the system. When I'm playing it back without OBS recording anything, it plays back really smoothly and I have no issues with 4K video playback. So yeah, that little 1GB graphics card is still holding up really nicely. So at this point I wanted to customize the dock that we have here. When you press the Windows key or the Mac key, it'll bring up this screen here and you can drop in the applications you want for quick access and move them around the way you want, and so it looks the way that you actually expect it to do. So I was just putting in what I wanted here: Google Chrome, OBS, and also some Office applications. Now Zorin OS does come with a free Office suite called LibreOffice, and it is open source and community developed, and it is a good alternative for the Microsoft Office suite. But of course, if you need to, you can use Office 365 online via a web browser, but it is worth noting that there is no Linux distribution of a native Microsoft Office suite at all, unfortunately. That means no Teams and no OneDrive. But if you do need to try and get Windows programs to run, there is a Windows App Support installer which will allow you to try and run these things with Wine and Bottle. I haven't experimented with this myself, but it does work for some people apparently. But the thing that has impressed me the most, and I think will be a big point for most people using the OS who aren't used to Linux, is I haven't had to go towards the terminal at all. That has actually been quite nice. Everything I've needed to do so far has just worked without it. Well, there you have it. That was my experience with Zorin OS. And to be honest, it's got me really excited for the future of Linux on desktops, because I haven't even had to use the terminal once. And for the most part, things have just pretty much worked out the box, which is the experience people who are novices really rather need. Now, the big question is, can I recommend this to my customers? And I have to say, I think a lot of them will be able to use this with no issues whatsoever. And I would think the majority of people out there right now, unless, as I said earlier, rely on some form of Office 365, some kind of weird, strange application that doesn't run or work properly even through the translation layers, like Wine or Bottle, whatever it is, it may be a bit of a problem, but for the most part, yeah, I think this saves machines like this. And what I really noticed is just how fast the machine actually feels. I'm amazed for hardware that is this old, that it still gets around the desktop, the websites, you know, because a lot of stuff is cloud-based and web-based these days, and it's feeling snappy. So yeah, I think I can recommend this for a lot of people who have an older machine. But I want to know your thoughts in the comments section below. Are there any other operating systems or Linux distros that you would recommend for somebody these days who isn't Linux minded at all and is a computer novice and has another way to save these machines and keep them going? If you have those ideas, pop them down in the comments below. But until next time, as always, I am Will, this is another random tech video, and I'll see you in the next one.